All right, so we just watched The Penguin episode 6, and this was a very eventful episode. So the episode starts off, and I really like how they're kind of like, it feels like they're very intentionally trying to emulate the Batman with, Bruce having a cave lair, and the episode starts, and Vic is like riding the motorcycle very similarly to how the Batman kind of starts with Robert Pattinson riding his motorcycle. It just, I don't know. I wonder if what they're kind of trying to get across with that is that the Penguin is like getting his stuff going, right? He's getting his operation going the same way that Bruce, like his operation was already going uh in the Batman. So I wonder if that's kind of their way of telling us that, yeah, the Penguin is here, baby. He has his gang, and obviously by the end of this episode, he's basically kind of made it, right, as a big deal in the underworld. Um, but yeah, I really like that scene, and I also like the time jump from the past episode to this episode, because I like that it just kind of like puts us into the action, kind of, which I don't know, I thought was an interesting choice. Um, we then jump over to Sophia doing her thing with her with her boy toy, her old psychiatrist guy. Um, I feel like this is like a very interesting scene as well because obviously the whole like dominatrix thing. By the way, I saw scratches on him, which is which is interesting. I feel like it's very much like her wanting to be in control, right? Because she spent like 10 years being in Arkham, being used and abused by a lot of the psychiatrists there, um, and just not, obviously just not very much not being in control. So I feel like that's kind of her. This whole dynamic here is just her lashing out as far as that goes. And I guess you also get the feeling that like the psychiatrist dude is also feeling some kind of guilt, so he's kind of going along with it, or maybe that's just what he's into. And if I'm being quite frank, she could do whatever she wants to me. Anyways, we're moving on. This is also another interesting scene where Sophia's with the Maroni guy. What's his name? Salvatore Maroni. Where you have like simultaneous like daddy issues where where like she clearly never had a good father figure in her life. So like I wouldn't be surprised if Carmine like never made a meal for her. You know, the fact that he cooked her this like weird fucking soup, and there's like this like scene here, right, where he was just kind of like staring at her eat. Like you could like very much like see that the potential of him viewing her as a daughter figure, you know, because obviously, I mean, uh he lost his family, so, and he's obviously going to be getting revenge for her, and they both, like, well, he lost his family, and she very much never really even had a father at all, so I could see them getting close, like not just as mob partners. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to see where that's going to go. Um, this was also another interesting scene where this is a bit where they're in the apartment with Penguin's mom, and she's dealing with her dementia or whatever, and I guess Vic had been trying to cope with it, and as far as he was taking care of her by like playing along with her delusions, and he was like pretending to be Oz's brother or whatever as she was going through her episode, and the Penguin was like, "No, you can't do that. You can't talk. You can't mention my brother. You can't. You don't have the right to do that." And it was just like making me wonder, like, I've never dealt with a situation like that. Is it best to play along with somebody, when they're going through an episode like that? Or is it best to always maintain a sense of reality and, never appease them, and or not appease them, but never play along with them. Always try and ground the person back into reality. I don't actually know what the right call in that situation would be. So that was just, honestly, that was just like an interesting thing to note. Or that I guess I was just kind of curious about. This was a pretty great scene here where the mom character, she like gets in a bath, or she runs a bath for herself, and she just like stays there because she's having a bit of an episode, and Oz comes and finds her like that. Like she then proceeds to ask him to kill her, unalive her, I guess. If she ever like just fully goes off the deep end and just is not present in reality. And yeah, that was a very powerful scene. Like, again, this show just does such an incredible job of having these genuinely bad people, right? Like nobody in this show is like a good person. I mean, I feel like if Vic was maybe that good person, I mean, he's very much going off the deep end, as we're gonna see here. But yeah, but then you just get scenes like Sophia and Salvatore, where they're kind of having a moment there, and you really feel for them. You get scenes like this with Penguin and his mom, where they're having a moment, and you really start to feel for them. And it's like Penguin is a evil mobster that will literally kill in order to get an edge on, or get like climb the mob ladder, so to speak. His mom is like a horrible, I would argue, abusive mother, right? That is like guilt tripping her son, because she's like, oh, you haven't given me enough. Like, you already bought me a house. Like this was earlier in the season where she was like, you already bought me a house, but I deserve even more. And it's like, what the fuck? And you're like encouraging your son to get even deeper into like the crime business. It's like these are bad people, but you still have this very genuine emotional scene where you have a mother asking her child to kill her at some point, which is the horrible thing in general. And like, it's really hard to not feel for characters that are going through a situation like that. This was just like kind of an interesting scene for me. So this is the scene where Oz is like interrogating the congressman to get power back into like the city block that he's currently staying at. And it's just like so interesting because I just recently went through a hurricane and I didn't have power. And so I'll actually like watching this show, especially since they got into like, I think it's called Crown Point, actually, right? The district that they're in. And it's just like very interesting seeing how Gotham just like they left the hood into a borderline and they left the hood in like a borderline apocalyptic fucking scenario where they at this point, post the Riddler flooding the city, they just haven't repaired that area. Whereas you have the nicer areas, right, of Gotham that are powered up. So it's very interesting. You know, the social elements to the show are actually pretty cool. And again, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you have the Penguin like sticking plier into this congressman's nose, and it's like, it's a horrible thing that's happening, but it's like low key, you know, when the power finally came back for me, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't grateful. Obviously, I would not want anybody going up to my local congressman's to do anything like that, but it's like low key, I know what it's like to not have power. And I know how good that shit felt when it came back up. So it's like, low key, you're like, you know what, Penguin? you do your thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, don't condone, don't ever do anything like that. Nobody should ever do anything like that. Obviously. um, yeah, this was also another big moment where Vic unalived Squid. This is very much Vic like crossing over that area where it's like I'm trying to think. I feel like anything that he's done thus far in the season isn't like he's not like he hasn't necessarily got off the deep end. It's a like, oh yeah, now he's officially like a completely like he's done something that you kind of can't come back from. Like he hasn't necessarily done anything to that degree. But I think murdering this guy in cold blood was like it's like the first thing that Vic has done where it's like, "Oh, there you go. You're officially a mobster now. Like you've officially done something that you kind of can't come back from." um but yeah, really good scene, really good performance by the actor as well. Like the shock and the horror that he conveyed post murder. Very good stuff. This was also this episode just had so many great scenes. This scene where Sophia is like interrogating Oz's girlfriend, and this is like one of those scenes where it's like, Sophia's clearly like she does have a softer side to her where she doesn't really want to kill people that she doesn't have to, and it kind of seems like she wants to avoid it. That's what it feels like because, or I don't know, it might also be more malicious because so like she clearly has some amount of sympathy for this character, right? Because she's um would Oz's girlfriend be considered a pimp? I think so, right? Because she has a bunch of like prostitutes that work for her, right? In any case, like Sophia clearly has some sympathy for her because Carmine killed a bunch of the people that used to work for her, I would assume. And obviously Carmine killed her mom, and so they have some kind. She feels some kind of sympathy, right, for that. And I was gonna say like maybe she let her live for that reason, but she also dropped that like truth bomb, right? That Oz knew that Carmine killed her, right? She knew that that Sophia didn't do it, but Oz kept that from the girl because it was good for Oz that people thought that Sophia killed those girls. So that could also be the main reason why she let her live, because her being alive and like confronting Oz about that and no longer being in a genuine relationship with Oz, right? Now having Oz's girlfriend resent him is like in her own way getting back at him, right? So I don't know. I guess that scene is interesting because you could kind of interpret it in two ways of like Sophia not wanting to kill her because she wanted to she just wanted to let her live as like a moralistic choice, but it could also be like a not as moralistic choice, right? where she just wanted to get at Oz in that way. So I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing that I'm kind of tweedling my mind about, trying to figure out exactly how I interpret that. But another momentous occasion in the episode where Oz manages to strike a deal with all the gangs. And it feels like in that moment where they all decide to crack the beers. Like, yeah, I mean, that definitely does feel like the moment where Oz has kind of made it, where it's like, okay, he's officially a crime boss now, right? Like he's officially like a proper player in the game, so to speak, in Gotham. And yeah, I really like the speech that he gives because it very much goes to that first episode where he's talking with Alberto and he's like, and he's talking about how he wants a legacy and he wants people to to say his name or whatever. And this episode very much calls back to that because he talks about how his crew are going to be loyal to him because he pays them well and stuff like that. And Oz is very clearly like he wants to be liked, he wants to be loved, and I do like that about the character. Which again, it just shows how complex and well written these characters are, to where it's like, again, they're really bad people, but they're still human, and they still have human sides to them that make you attached to them in some way and feel for them in some way. But yeah, then the episode ends with Vic and Oz's mom. They're like dancing. It's like the power's back on. It's a happy moment, and Sophia finds them. And I guess this does come back to her letting Oz's girlfriend live, to where it's like, what's like, is Sophia so far gone, I guess, at this point, that she just wants to kill Oz's mom in order to get revenge on Oz for killing Alberto? Or is she not as evil as that, at this point, and she mostly just wants to use the mom to get to Oz and kill Oz? That is an interesting, we'll have to wait and see exactly how they play it out, Sophia and Salvatore. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, really love this episode. This was definitely one of the better episodes. Just so much happened in it. There's so many like standout scenes. Honestly, like doing this review really made me think about of like, damn, there are like 5 like incredible scenes that are like that are like some of the best scenes that we've seen on the show thus far. So yeah, really great episode. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.